Well, hello everyone and welcome to the 2022 award ceremony for IMLAM. If I could remind teams in particular to have your cameras on so that we get the joy of your reactions to the various awards that we'll be announcing this evening. Can I start by welcoming Professor Chen to speak to us all at the conclusion of the IMLAM moot this year at SMU.
All right, thank you, Kate. And I'm mindful that everyone is here for the award ceremony and not here to listen to me speak for too long, so I shall be brief. First of all, congratulations to all the teams who participated, in particular the two teams that reached the finals. I managed to watch segments of it. It's a very high quality round, but it's only to be expected, I think, for this competition. I would just like to also place my thanks to Kate and Shilan, who have been working tirelessly on this moot for quite a while, right? Because we've had to delay it and because of COVID. And I also like to thank the Moot Court Club from SMU. By all accounts, they seem to have done a pretty good job. So I think without the students, it would have been quite difficult to run this competition. And lastly, of course, we'd like to thank the judges, arbitrators, who took time off to provide really useful feedback for the students. So the last point I really want to make before I hand the time to Kate is that I've been doing moot court for more than 10 years. I probably watched close to 10,000 or more rounds, whether in competition or in practices. And the one thing that I've learned is that there's still plenty to learn, right? So for the student participants, right, regardless of the result, regardless of the outcome, whether you win prizes or not, just remind yourself, when things are settled down, that there's plenty to learn because, lawyering is a craft. And as with any craft, you need to be patient. You need to be able to absorb advice, critically think about how you want to take things forward, and also think about why you're even doing this, right? I think sometimes students, they get caught up with the outcomes of competitions and unnecessarily make wrong decisions because of that. So keep an open mind and hopefully you get to hear good results for your team. So over to you, Kate.
Thank you, Sian, and I echo everything that you've just said because the mooting is just part of the journey that we're all on to try and be good lawyers, to be ethical lawyers, to be competent lawyers, and to the teams, you will realise how much this has contributed to that journey only some point afterwards, and it won't necessarily bear any resemblance to any particular awards that you might have be awarded tonight. So thank you very much, Professor Chen, and in particular, thank you to our colleagues at Singapore Management University. Their students have been fantastic, and I'll have more to say about that later. So welcome to everyone. Welcome to Your Honours, professors, coaches, teams, sponsors, arbitrators, everyone who's here. It's the end of 5 days of fantastic competition, and we've got lots of people to thank and to remember, but I'd like to start out by thanking our most eminent grand final panel for their excellent adjudication over that grand final moot that we've all just enjoyed. The Honourable Justice Belinda Ang Soe In, who's the President of and Judge of the Appellate Division of the Supreme Court of Singapore and a renowned Admiralty and Maritime Specialist. Equally renowned, the Honourable Justice Sarah Derrington, Federal Court of Australia, and the Honourable Sir Bernard Eder, who chaired with great aplomb. Sir Bernard's currently at Essex Court Chambers, but he was formerly Justice of the High Court of England and Wales, and he is currently an international judge of the Singapore International Commercial Court and sits regularly as an arbitrator. So what an amazing experience for our grand finalists to have sat before such a panel and to have had that experience already in their back pocket before you've even got your practicing certificate. That's an amazing experience. And so my thanks again to the panel. As you would expect, lots of people contribute to an event like this. And I mentioned before Singapore Management University. Certainly one of the pleasures of being the Moot director is that I get to work very closely with host universities, a different host every year, and this year has been no exception. There's always an awful lot of work involved behind the scenes to make everything run seamlessly. And SMU have effectively done this twice because they planned to be host in the COVID thwarted year of 2020, and then they've come back and agreed to host again this year for the virtual reboot, which of course required quite a lot of change in order to make it happen. So special thanks to Professor Suyan Chen and the SMU Student Moot Court Club and the many volunteers that they've amassed to help us run this week. I'm sure you'll all agree that they've been reliable, efficient, courteous, and we literally could not have run the Moot without them. They have also, being digital natives, been able to manage all of the virtual side in a way when I've just sort of said, well, I don't know what I'm doing. And thankfully, they've known what they're doing. So that's worked really well. So I'd like to specifically thank the SMU students, Wayne Huang, Huying Dong, Claire Go, Liton Chen, Nila Pillay, Ava Leong, Desmond Tan, Sok Wei, Lili Xuen, Maylin Lau, Slevin Chua, Eula Sia, Elizabeth Ho, Hansing Yi, and Nicoletta Ang. So thank you very much to all of you for all of your work over the course of this week, and a little clap over my screen to them as they're sitting in the room with me. I'm very, very impressed with this group of students. They've been excellent. All right, so I want to also just mention the many sponsors that we have for IMLAM, and we're very privileged to have so much support from law firms, barristers' chambers, the arbitration bodies, and generally the maritime industry. So thanking the various prize and trophy sponsors, most of whom are, I think, well, the slide says it all. You can see we've got Maritime Law Association of Australia and New Zealand, Singapore Chamber of Maritime Arbitration, Australian Maritime and Transport Arbitration Commission, London Maritime Arbitrators Association, Minter Ellison, DLA Piper, Colin Biggers and Paisley, Helmsman Law, HFW, Young's List of the Victorian Bar, Clyde & Co, the TT Club, ARB-DB Chambers, and Margot Harris and Paul Myberg, who've also sponsored prizes. And in particular, I want to point out that the arbitral associations, the three main ones, have always given me great support by finding arbitrators. And I've had this year, as I always have, a steady stream of really high quality arbitrators hearing all of the rounds of the moot. I'd also like to specifically thank Informa, who arrange for all the teams to have access to the commercial database iLaw. Those of you who are in practice know just how expensive that is, and it is a significant benefit to our students and really helps level the playing field, I feel, to allow the students to have access to such an important resource. And secondly, to the Maritime Law Association of Australia and New Zealand, who not only sponsor a prize, but they also contribute to the travelling expenses of the competition organisers, myself and Shalane. So thank you to all our sponsors. Your help and sponsorship enables us to make this competition the event that it is, and that it gives the benefits that it does to the students. I also want to thank the two drafters who drafted this year's problem, Alison Cusack and Karen Woonings. It's no easy task to draft a problem that will keep a team of students busy for more than 6 months. And I think we can all agree this was a fascinating scenario, much of which was taken from real life case files that they had some dealings with. And finally, well, not finally, I've got a few more. I want to also thank all of the arbitrators. We had over 80 arbitrators volunteer over the course of the last few days. And they've all appeared on Zoom from wherever they are in the world at all sorts of ungodly times. And there's no doubt that the students have benefited from the wisdom and feedback of those arbitrators. So thank you very much to all of you. I also want to thank the competitors, the teams and their coaches. This competition is for you. It's for your benefit. It's partly for us because we want you to really love shipping law, like we really love shipping law. So that's the ulterior motive, and hopefully I've managed to convert a few of you over to the cause. But certainly this year there's been lots of changes and challenges, you know, as we've tried to work within the virtual space. So things have changed a little bit. Teams have had to moot at ungodly hours as well. You know, that's all very much appreciated. It's been done without complaint. And I also appreciate the work of the coaches. I know you cajole, comfort, encourage and empower your teams. You know, I want to pay homage to you for doing that work. So to all of you, teams and coaches, no matter what the result is for you, you've still competed and conducted yourselves impeccably. You've learnt a lot and you've done your universities proud. And my final thanks is to Shalane, who has been a tremendously efficient and helpful moot administrator. She says that she wants us to keep on having the moot because she wants to keep doing it. But sadly, it's a one and only year for her. I'd also like to thank my own School of Law at Murdoch University because their long-term enduring encouragement of me and support of me to run this competition has enabled us to continue as long as we have. All right, so that's all my thank yous. So now we move on to prizes. So as you'll remember, I said in the opening address, you know, we aim to introduce you to advocacy in the context of maritime law, improve your skills and inculcate important aspects of lawyering, ethics and teamwork. And I think if you think about those aims, you'll know that all of you have achieved success in meeting those aims. Nonetheless, we've got a whole host of prizes to award, and I know you're all very keen to hear about those. So I'm going to start with the Sarah Derrington Millans Encouragement Award, and I have the Honourable Justice Sarah Derrington here, and Sarah was the founder of this moot back in 2000, I believe, and so this award of encouragement was named in her honour. And it's sponsored by the Maritime Law Association of Australia and New Zealand. Normally, I would have Sarah alongside me in real life and she would present the award, but obviously tonight we can't do that with any of our, we can't do that with any presentation, so it's all just me. But this award is being granted to a university that competed incredibly strongly. They won all 4 of their moots. But when it came to the quarterfinal cutoff, they just sat marginally outside that top 8. So they really had done a sterling job, and that's the Symbiosis Law School. So Symbiosis, you have won the Millans Encouragement Award. So very well done to all of you. And yes, please feel free to make use of the Zoom claps and so forth as you can. It's very well done. That was an excellent performance. Okay, well done. All right, the next prize is the Australian Maritime and Transport Arbitration Commission Spirit of the Moot Prize. And this is awarded, I've actually awarded this jointly to 2 teams. These teams had to battle various time zone challenges, and one of them even had to deal with a COVID outbreak. And they did all of that without any complaint. There was no pushback about schedules. In fact, none of the teams in hostile time zones, you know, were anything but accepting of the you know, the constraints we had around timetabling. But awarding this Spirit of the Moot Prize jointly to Erasmus University of Rotterdam and Universidad Carlos III de Madrid. So well done to both of you. You are the winners of the Spirit of the Moot Prize. All right. Moving on then to the Best Newcomer Award for Best Performance by a Newcomer Team, which is sponsored by the London Maritime Arbitrators Association. This prize has been awarded to the team that ranked the most highly out of the newcomers, and that was awarded to Paris 1 Pantheon-Sorbonne. Well done to the Paris team. Well done. It's I often think must be a very difficult thing to do for the first time. Join a moot on the other side of the world in a foreign language in a hostile time zone. So very well done to the Paris team. Next, I have a merit award that's been sponsored by Ms. Margot Harris, a barrister of the Queensland Bar. And I've awarded this to a speaker who once one extracted the speakers from the quarterfinalists was basically next in line. And that speaker is from the National Law School of India University, Digvijay Singh. Well done, Mr. Singh. So that's the Merit Award. Very well done. All right, so now I'm going to announce the highest ranked team in the general rounds. And this is a twofold award. It comes as a prize sponsored by Helmsman Law, and it also accompanies the David Martin Clark Trophy donated by the TT Club. David Martin Clark, for those of you who don't know, is a very highly esteemed maritime arbitrator who for at least 15 years was a really strong supporter of IMLAM and would fly to Australia, to anywhere, to take part in the grand final. And interestingly, he also, in the early years, even wrote an award based on the problem. I think the problems have got so devilish now that we can't possibly expect that of grand final panelists. So Bernard Eder will be very pleased to know. All right, so I'm going to announce the top 8 because these are the quarterfinalists, and I'm going to announce them now in order because when I announce the quarterfinalists, I always announce them alphabetically. So I'm going to start with 8th position and work my way up. All of these quarterfinalists should be extremely proud of their achievement, and it is, effectively a prize to make it to the quarterfinals. So in 8th position was University of Hong Kong. In 7th position, Universidad Nacional Autónoma de Mexico, and apologies for that pronunciation. In 6th position was Universitas Indonesia. And interestingly, the 5th, 4th and 3rd places were tied on round point scores. So these 3 teams came out with the same round point scores after the 4 rounds. Then I had to separate them out in accordance with the rules. And in doing so, in 5th position was Murdoch University. Very well done. And 4th position was University of Queensland. Very well done. 3rd position was University of Sydney. Very well done. 2nd position went to Singapore Management University. Excellent job. And therefore, on behalf of Helmsman Law, I announced the winner of the highest ranked team in the general rounds as being National University of Singapore. Very well done. Good job. Excellent. All right, next we have Best Speaker in the general rounds, which is sponsored by Colin Biggers and Paisley. Now, to be eligible for this prize, the oralist must have argued both claimant and respondent on different occasions through the competition, obviously not on the same occasion. That would be crazy. So I'm going to read out the top 5 in reverse order. So in 5th position, Universitas Indonesia, Pasha Hubais. In 4th position, well done. In 4th position, NUS, Muya Wu, well done. In 3rd position, University of Queensland, Isaac Gill, well done. A runner-up for the best speaker in the general rounds, University of Queensland, Alexander Zagami, very well done. And the winner of that prize is Universitas Indonesia, Athala Zaki. Well done, Athala. That's fantastic. It really takes something to be able to argue both sides of a moot. Now, there were several high-scoring oralists who'd only argued one side, but still got very high scores. And I just want to give them an honourable mention. The 4 that I'm going to mention are SMU, Geta Vasnani, also SMU, Benjamin Chongwei Ng, University of Hong Kong, Jason Fee, and University of Queensland, Benjamin Funnell. So very well done to all of you. You got honourable mentions for being very high scoring oralists. Even though you weren't eligible for that prize, you still did incredibly well. All right, so next I'm going to announce the best speaker from a newcomer team, which is sponsored by ARB-DB Chambers. So again, this is targeted at the newcomers. The runner-up for this award is Yara Torbay from Paris. Well done. And the winner from Sibelius Marat University, Dia Ramadhani. Well done. Excellent. I'm just realizing you can probably hear my little claps through my microphone, which might sound terrible. Anyway, very well done, Dia. That's an excellent prize to win. That's fantastic. All right, now I'm going to announce the memo prizes, and these memo prizes are for funds to support the winning team's library for the purchase of maritime law books, so you can come back and argue even more impressively at another moot. So the prizes are sponsored by Clyde & Co and Young's List, Melbourne, for the overall memo prizes. And then we have prizes, individual prizes for the best claimant and best respondent. But just talking about the overall memos, which is the combined score of both your respondent and your claimant memos, as ranked by the memo judges. In 7th position was Sri Lanka Law College. Very well done. In 6th position, Murdoch University. Well done. 5th position was University of Hong Kong. 4th position, National University of Singapore. 3rd position, University of Sydney. 2nd position, which is the runner-up best overall performance, which is a prize sponsored by Young's List, was University of Queensland. Well done. And the best overall performance in the memoranda sponsored by Clyde & Co, Universitas Indonesia. Very well done. Really excited. That's great. All right, we also have prizes for the best memo for the claimant and best memos for the respondent, which are both sponsored by the Singapore Chamber of Maritime Arbitration. The best respondent memo goes to Universitas Indonesia. And the best claimant memo goes to University of Queensland. There we are. Nice to see the happy teams. All right, and before we leave the memo prizes, I'd like you to join with me to thank the 6 anonymous judges who ploughed through all of your memos to help us arrive at a result for this prize. It's a very time-consuming and thankless task, except we're going to thank them, but they really do. It takes them hours and hours and hours and hours to carefully rank your memos. So thank you so much to those judges, many of whom I ask year after year. So a special thanks to those. They know who they are. All right, we're up to the best speaker in the finals prizes. So I'm going to announce the runner-up to begin with. And Paul Myberg is going to laugh because this prize is always tied. This year we've gone one better, Paul. We've actually got a 3-way tie for runner-up best speaker in the finals. And the 3-way tie is between Murdoch, Emerson Varys, Mexico, Diego Aguayo, and Sydney, Kathy Zhang. So very well done to all 3 of the runner-up best speaker prize winners. That's really excellent. And then we have the best speaker in the finals prize, which is sponsored by HFW. Now, the interesting thing about this is this prize also includes an opportunity to undertake an internship with HFW. I'm going to have to speak to them because this too also has been split 3 ways. So HFW is winning the bonanza, if I think of it that way. And this best speaker prize also involves the Ron Salter Award trophy, which is going to be hard to split 3 ways, but I have a solution for that. Anyway, the 3-way tie is between SMU, Zhengquang Chua, apologies for mispronouncing that, SMU Jade Lee, and Universitas Indonesia, Pasha Huibre. So SMU and UI, very well done. Best speaker in the finals prize there. And because SMU have won there's been 2 oralists that have won that prize. I think what we'll do is we'll ask you to be custodians of the Ron Salter Award for this coming year, and we'll arrange for the trophies to make their way to you. So very well done to all of the best speakers in the prizes. So we now arrive at the winner and runner-up prizes for the grand final. And before we get there, and before I ask Sir Bernard to announce, I just want to briefly talk about the Chris Douglas Championship Trophy. So this is the second year we'll award this trophy, which has been donated by Chris Douglas's family. And that goes alongside the prize for the winning team, which is sponsored by Chris's former firm, his old firm, Minter Ellison. Now, there's some information about Chris in the grand final brochure, but I just wanted to introduce Chris to you. Chris was a prodigiously bright, very talented young lawyer and a young partner of one of Australia's most respected law firms, Minter Ellison. He lost a battle with cancer in 2018. He was 37 at the time. He had been involved with the IMLAM moot for more than a third of his life. Almost fresh out of law school, he started volunteering to help. He was an arbitrator who flew wherever I needed him to be. He arranged for his firm to sponsor the moot year after year, and he also drafted several unique scenarios in his own inimitable style, one of which included a fictional country that had a border control that consisted of a tinny, which is what Australians will understand as a dinghy, and that was the primary border control mechanism for this fictional country. So he was not without a sense of humour either. In 2018, I was unaware that he was ill, but I asked him to judge the grand final that year when it was in Brisbane, and I'm deeply thrilled that I did that because it was not long after that he died. And in 2019, Sarah Derrington was able to speak to his family, and his family decided to donate a new trophy to be presented each year to the winners of the oral rounds, being the prize that his firm sponsors. And so every year we remember Chris, we remember his energetic commitment to this competition, that he always joined us in this first week in July and was always presenting the trophy named in his honour. So with that said, and thank you, Chris, for everything, I'd like to point out that the sponsors of these 2 prizes we're about to award, Minter Ellison sponsors the prize for the winning team, and DLA sponsors the runners-up of the oral hearings. I'm going to ask Sir Bernard to announce the prize for the winning team in the oral hearings and the winner of the Chris Douglas Champion Trophy, and announce that now. So Sir Bernard, if I could flick to you.
Right. I hope you can hear me. Thank you so much, Kate. A few things. First, could I just correct one small thing? Kate, I am no longer a member of Essex Court Chambers. I work independent arbitrator now, though I'm based at the same address, but that's a small point. But I don't know whether everyone knows. I think this is Kate's last tenure, or the end of her tenure of being at least in charge of IMLAM. I think that's right. I've known Kate for some time, and the energy that she throws into this moot competition is quite astonishing. It has become not only one of the great maritime mooting competitions, but it's probably one of the great international mooting competitions generally. And it's all arisen out of Kate driving this forward, taking over from Sarah Derrington, who was one of my co-judges. So a huge thanks to Kate, and indeed also to Sarah for the work she did before that. Could I just say, first of all, I was invited to do that. It really is a great pleasure, believe it or not. It does, though, make me feel like a very old man. All the participants, all of you, are very young, and I would change my place for your place at the drop of a hat. I really would. It does remind me, though, as I sit as a tribunal now, that tribunals now are are very friendly. We're cuddly now. In the old days, it was completely different. So when I did almost my first arbitration in, I think, 1977, I made a submission on a shipping case, and one member of the tribunal took up the 18th edition of Scrutton on Charter Parties, one that I was not involved in, the orange edition, and threw it at me in a bad temper. Tribunals are much more kindly now than they were. But it does make me feel, that was almost 50 years ago, I think, it does make me feel rather like an old man. Anyway, so thank you. As I saw, together with my co-judges, Justice Belinda Ang and Justice Darrington, just the final, so we saw the very end. And I think I speak for, or I'm sure I speak for all of my, both co-judges, how impressed we were by the standards, both of oral advocacy and knowledge and work that they've obviously done in presenting their cases. And that has made the task, our task, the more difficult. Unfortunately, in this world, as Boris Johnson knows very well, there's always a winner and a loser. So I'm afraid there is a winner and a loser, but I give everyone great pleasure in announcing that the winner was Sydney and the runner-up was NUS. So a big thank you to both of you, both teams and all your participants, and thank you very, very much.
Well, huge congratulations then to Sydney and commiserations to NUS. But you know, it really was a tremendous competition, and you both teams can be extremely proud, both of making it to the grand final and for putting in such a tremendous performance. So very, very well done to you both, and congratulations to Sydney. I'd like to point out though that all of you, every single student that's participated, as far as I'm concerned, you are all winners. You've put in an enormous amount of work. We do know how much work it takes, and you've demonstrated and displayed great poise and skill beyond your years, and you will find that has accelerated your skill development in ways that you can only begin to appreciate once you hit practice. I've had several people from law firms say to me that they seek out mooters because they feel like they're at least 1 to 2 years better developed in their legal skills than people who have not engaged in this sort of experience. So, and that doesn't matter where you've come in the competition, you will have achieved that. So, and a big thank you also. I think every team should thank their coaches now. Amazing effort, coaches. You've prepared your teams incredibly well, and you've supported them too. And there's a large amount of support that needs to happen there to help teams get through this sort of arduous process. All right, I'd also like to mention, as I said, the various arbitrators, particularly those arbitrators who've been involved over the years, and many of whom have travelled wherever the moot has been in the days that we've done face-to-face moots, and hopefully we'll return to those. But the arbitrators couldn't travel to be with me this year, but they were certainly with me in spirit, and they were with me on Zoom, most importantly, and we were able to still catch up with one another on the sidelines. There are too many of you to name. I can't thank you all enough for your friendship, but your kind words and your cheerful willingness to help me out over the course of this year and previous years has been very much valued. So I'm sure that none of you are likely to forget your experience. I hope your memories, the student memories of this, will be a strong one. It's been my honour and privilege to run this competition this year in conjunction with Singapore Management University for the benefit of you all. We set to provide an educational experience that highlights the fascinating area of shipping law that has seduced so many of us who've been involved this week. I hope that we've delivered on that for you for another year. And as Sir Bernard has said, for me, this is a bit of a bittersweet moment because it is my last year at the helm of the IMLAM moot. But I've been doing this since 2006. It's an enormous part of my life. every year from in July for 17 years, I've been doing this moot. My kids were 6 and 8 when I first started, and now they're 23 and 25. So it's time to hand over fresh blood and a new approach. I do want to thank Murdoch University for supporting me all these years, and all the many people who volunteered time, energy, expertise, past hosts, arbitrators from far and wide, people who've drafted this scenario, memo judges, to name but a few. But we are entering a new exciting era. IMLAM will continue. The organisation of the moot will be overseen by a committee made up of enthusiastic representatives from the 4 keenest supporters of the moot, which is the various maritime arbitration bodies, LMAA, SCMA, AMTAC, and Maritime Law Association of Australia and New Zealand. All of those entities have sponsored prizes and supported the moot in the past, and now they're going to be taking over the running of it. So there are 3 committee members who are going to be in charge for the next little while. Several of them will be known to you. Ian Teo, who's the former NUS coach, himself an inaugural IMLAM mooter and now partner of the Helmsman Law, is one of the committee members. Daniela Horton, who's a maritime arbitrator and former honorary secretary of the London Maritime Arbitrators Association, and David Goodwin, past president of MLANS and a barrister and associate professor at Victoria University. He's been a past host member for IMLAM, and he will be representing MLANS. And Ian, as I failed to mention, was from the Singapore Chamber of Maritime Arbitration. So he's the SCMA rep. So that organising committee will liaise with a host each year and run the annual competition, much as we have in the past. In terms of next year's host, I'm thrilled to announce that we will be returning to the UK next year. We'll be going to Wales and Swansea University. And my sincere thanks to Swansea and the Institute of International Shipping and Trade Law for taking on the responsibility of hosting IMLAM for 2023 under the guidance of the new organising committee. We're all very much hoping that we'll be back to face, but we've established now that if we need to be virtual, we can do it. But we will see what the year brings. So that's it from me. I'm going to hand over the wheel now, bid you all good night. Thank you again to our hosts at Singapore Management University and the amazing students who've been great here. Thank you to Shalan for everything. And I hope you all have a wonderful evening and enjoy the fact that you've made it all the way through the moot and with such great aplomb. Well done. Good night, everyone.